Test. Test.
Everybody on that side good to go? Oh, we got speakers. That's good. All right, Rick, you ready to go? Thank you, of course. All right. We're going to call to order the city council meeting for Monday, August 7th, 2023. Please stand and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you for that. We're going to move on to roll call. Amanda.
Tim Petrie. Bonnie Shimulis. Here. Scott Steckmeister.
Here.
Adam Husky.
Here.
Jeff Delkey.
Here.
Tracy Coach. Here. Bill Leclerc.
Here.
Darla Leclerc.
Here.
Okay, everybody's here. We will skip over number 4 and move on to number 5, invited guests. We have a oath of office and badge pinning of Assistant Fire Chief Ryan Menges. Greg will be probably teaming up with Chief Murrock.
Yes, actually, if Chief Murrock would come forward for an introduction of and a little background on soon-to-be Assistant Chief Menges, and then Amanda will assist with the swearing in.
Thank you. Well, City Council and members in the audience, I'm pleased to announce the promotion of firefighter paramedic Ryan Menges to Assistant Chief. A little bit about Ryan is in 2015, we hired him. Prior to that, he was a part-timer and an intern at the City of Two Rivers Fire Department. So it just shows the value of our internship program because he went all the way from part-time firefighter to a firefighter paramedic that was part-time to full-time. A little bit about his background. Prior to working at the fire department, going through school, he served 4 years in the United States Army. He fixed Apache helicopter weapon systems, even though he can't fix a coffee pot at the station. So, I don't know how that correlates, but also prior to his employment, he obtained his bachelor's degree in nursing. So he is my only firefighter paramedic that's also a nurse, and he's a very valuable asset. He also teaches paramedic at LTC. He teaches at the fire department. He serves as a quality assurance officer at the fire department and works with our billing service to assure that we get the most value from our billing through the insurance companies through our ambulance calls. He's been a very valuable member doing that. He's worked on the PFFW, or the Professional Firefighters of Wisconsin Honor Guard, and he's also an acting shift captain. With that being said, he's here with his wife, Brittany, and his children is Vivian and Sophia here as well. But he also has his family here. I see he has his father, his sister-in-law, father-in-law, his brother. Forgive me if I don't know who else is here. But,
Last time we had a crowd this big, Chief, we'd made some folks really mad, but these guys all look happy. So.
But I'd like to acknowledge everybody in the room, some of our part-timers, and even some of our retired people. So I'm really pleased to announce Ryan Menges, and now for the pinning and swearing in.
Please raise your right hand or repeat after me. I, Ryan Menges,
I, Ryan Menges,
solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
solemnly swear I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin,
and the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and I will faithfully discharge the duties
of Assistant Fire Chief
of Assistant Fire Chief
for the City of Two Rivers
for the City of Two Rivers
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability.
so help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Always.
All right, now we will go to input from the public. Anyone wishing to address the council on something that's on this agenda, something you'd like to see on a future
Please step up to the podium, my right, your left. State your name and address for the record. Input from the public.
Hello, my name is William Otto. I'm living at 1800 Jefferson Street here in Two Rivers. I wanted to say that the War on the Shore was a great turnout. It was an enjoyable event, and I thought that was a wonderful and Manitowoc. I think Roosevelt Avenue needs a lot of road work done on it because I take the city bus, Maritime Metro Transit, and sometimes when I'm riding on the Maritime Metro Transit, it's just really bumpy. It feels like kind of like a roller coaster. If there could be a little bit of funding to fix that road on Roosevelt Avenue from I think it's 12th Street that runs all the way up to almost 7th Street. It runs like a half mile or something like that. So it's kind of a large street. So.
Thank you very much.
Just to make a point from what he said is next year Roosevelt Street is scheduled, the only street we have scheduled to get repairs.
Okay.
We're in the process of doing engineering, informing the people.
Okay. Which I would assume will happen probably fairly quickly.
Those, we're going to address those letters went out last week to the property owners on Roosevelt. Round numbers, right now it's looking about a $5 million project because, of course, it's all utilities as well as the street, but very much needed. As William pointed out, it's seen better days. And we hear from a lot of folks that use that street every day on the south side that it's overdue. So, engineering staff's working on assembling as much outside funding as we can get for water laterals, that sort of thing. It'll be a key capital item in the budget for 24.
Well, William, how's that for service? You ask and we deliver. They say nothing in the city happens quick, but that happened fairly quick. Anybody else? Input from the public? All right, seeing none, we're going to move on to number 7, which is council communications. Letters and other communications from citizens. Any council member have anything they'd like to share with the rest of council? Jeff.
I got a couple. One of them I discussed already with a couple people already today, but got a surprisingly a lot of phone calls and messages about the signage on the barricades on Lincoln. And they wanted to know who funded it. And I had told them that I would imagine that it was mandated by the feds.
Yes.
Which it was, but
tell
I
you the
didn't
truth,
realize.
Yeah, tell you the truth, I hadn't noticed that in addition to the bipartisan infrastructure law funding message, it does say President Joe Biden on them. I heard a caller on the radio this morning at 8:30. I was driving actually and made a circuit. Did check with our city engineer, public works director, Matt. That is mandatory language. Much like y'all got checks when a former president's name was on them, it seems as every president likes to have their name slapped on things that they've done, and that was not at local choice. That is the signage, including the DNR logo. City logo we did put on there too, because truth be known, local taxpayers and special assessment payers are paying the bulk of it. But that is what is required in that we're receiving federal money for primarily the utilities. Yep, that was not a local choice. Please assure them of that. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I need to bring it up because somebody asked, so
Yep.
I always do.
Yep.
I had a couple calls again, wondering about when Spectrum's gonna be up and running.
And it's what? I'm sorry.
Spectrum?
That's a really good question. As I asked Mr. Powell, our IT director, right before the meeting, what are those knuckleheads telling us lately? Because they did was it a soak test they call it for the circuit? And we're waiting on their reply to the latest inquiry. It doesn't exactly inspire confidence in their abilities, at least when it comes to this, but we don't have a good answer, Jeff, and I'm sorry because we deserve better than that.
Right, and that's what people had said that I had talked to too. They said, well, for $36,000, they should have their everything running. Good. And another one was these I had calls from, and there was a lot of Facebook chatter about the fines a fine that was given this past weekend for a noise ordinance. when something stopped at, the event stopped at 7. I didn't get to talk to Ben about it because I was out of town, but it seems like it was a little excessive.
Ben's out of town at his chief conference. I did hear about it this morning, spoke with Assistant Chief Wiesner about it. And my understanding, I'm not going to second guess police officers' application of judgment in the field, but that it involved the standard that when there is an identified complainant, if a vibration is felt or the sound can be heard inside of a private dwelling, regardless of the time of day, with the windows and doors closed, it's a violation. But beyond that, I understand there may be an interest by the business owner in talking with representatives of council. So there may be that opportunity set up. We want to keep that dialogue open. Yeah. And Melissa, I don't know if you had anything to add, but that's pretty much,
That pretty much sums it up.
yeah, that's pretty much the nature of it.
That's all I got.
Okay, anybody else? I had a couple. One of them was also related to the Whiskey D's, but I'm not going to beat that horse. And the other one was on personal watercraft coming within 150 feet of the beach. Some people don't like it. I don't know if you've heard about that as well, but
It's recently.
I also had informed that same person that we do allow people to launch off the beach in parking lot 6. I don't know really how that would be avoidable. But I didn't hear anything further back from them after my response, but I just wanted to throw it out there just so that they know I am reporting on that. But that was their concern.
It's a long time since we've tried to maintain swim markers. Some of you might recall when we had swim markers off the beach, but
Probably back in the days when we had lifeguards. It's
yeah.
probably been a while.
And I've got to say, I'm ignorant. Generally, is there a prohibition on operation within a certain distance?
I didn't look into it.
I-
It would have to probably be from DNR. I don't think we have anything.
No, I'm not aware that we have anything. But
Yeah, I didn't
it's a
look into it.
legitimate safety concern if they're in too close
Right.
a proximity, for sure.
Okay, so maybe something we'll check on with the DNR. And that's all I have. So then we'll move on to number 8, council reports from boards, commissions, or committees. Anything anyone wants to report on there? Darla?
Okay, for Main Street, I don't know how many people had an opportunity to go to the Brian Lee Day, but it was very successful. I forgot to bring along all my statistics, but anyway, it was a very, very good turnout. Of course, this was the first time in our new park, and that went exceedingly well. And you could really see the stage from the back of the crowd. Just to remind everybody that Ethnic Fest is coming up pretty darn soon. It's next month. Is it in middle of the month, Greg? Do you remember?
Third Saturday. in the
Third
month.
Saturday?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's not really that far away. So we want to make sure that you all have an opportunity to come out. Wanted to make mention that there is a new business downtown. And actually it's over by Mike Cleveland's skate park. And it's called the Toy Asylum. And you have to check it out. He's got some very, very cool stuff, vintage and collectibles. Other than that, a lot of very, very good things are happening. We're hearing a lot of comments from residents and visitors about how they've seen Two Rivers progress. So everything that we've been doing, not just Main Street, but as a city, it's being recognized and appreciated. For Environmental Advisory Board, we're trying to firm up what our topics are going to be for this year's winter educational series. None of what we talk about is going to be a repeat from this past season. There's a million different things we can talk about. So once we have that figured out, we will put that out on the website. Also, the front yard vegetable gardens are going along really well. And I was provided pictures, and I know that Public Works Department was going to distribute those to the board members. And Greg, I sent them to you too, right?
Yes.
Okay. So, I mean, we only have 2 participants, but a lot of comments from other people, and it's nice to see how they've progressed with that. And that's about it for mine.
Thank you, Darla. Anybody else? Bill?
From our Committee on Aging this morning, Wendy Hutter from the Aging Disability Resource Center reaffirmed that there's still vouchers for farmer market vouchers, and those vouchers, they're $30 each, and they're good until the end of September. Those are for farmers market. But the USDA is going to be starting in next year giving out vouchers for produce from the grocery stores. So those are going to be available next year. She also talked about a powerful tools class. This is something where they're teaching caregivers. It's a 6-week course, and they run about 10 people per class. And it's going to be about 3 times a year, depending upon how many people are interested. So this is really a kind of a neat thing for us. I don't think there's any cost involved, but teaches you how to take care of elderly. The senior center obtained a new trust car. Last month, the senior center gave out 300 rides in the trust car, just 1 month. And the new car is going to get decals from the Two Rivers Clothing Company. And we have in the city manager's notes talking about the carnival. Carnival at the first year that they're doing. I'll let Greg finish. That's about it. Thank you.
Did you say 300 rides in 1 month?
300 rides in 1 month.
Holy smokes, that's a lot.
And wearing the cars out.
Wow, well, that's awesome. I mean, it's a good service we provide. Glad people are taking them up on it, that need that assistance. That's awesome. It's a lot of rides. Tracy?
I don't have anything to report, but I have a question. Are those vouchers strictly for seniors? Is there like an age
Yes,
limit?
you're right. They're
Okay,
for seniors.
I was just curious.
So I think for 55 and older.
Oh,
I didn't say it.
like me.
I didn't say it. I wasn't thinking it either, Tracy. You're a young man.
Anyone in this room.
Anybody else? Boards, commissions, or committees? Anything? Nothing? Then we got a very long city manager's report. Greg, you're up.
We'll keep it rolling though, because we're gonna get out of here by 7 o'clock tonight.
Oh, boy.
Staffing updates from our city clerk, human resources director. Of course, tonight we were very pleased to congratulate Ryan Menges on his promotion to assistant chief for EMS and community outreach over at the fire department. That's the position that Chief Marock had formerly held as assistant chief. Resumes are due, applications at resumes due by August 10 for acting captain. There's an assessment center already scheduled on that. There is an opening because of recent promotions for firefighter paramedic. That was opened up for applications. They closed at 5 o'clock today and review is already underway. We recently filled a public works maintenance worker position. However, that individual will be returning to his former employer, and we are accepting applications for a public works maintenance worker. Of the street got paved last week, and Vinton and the handwork around driveways and ramps and some of the other fine work. So we look to be on track there for completion by Labor Day, which in this part of the country on a full reconstruct isn't bad. Just for your information, Mr. Otto mentioned earlier the need for addressing Roosevelt Street as a major infrastructure project. This is a copy of the mailing that went out on August 3rd to all the property owners along Roosevelt, advising them that this project is coming. If you want copies of that, I'm sure Public Works Committee has seen it, but we'll be happy to provide them to council. Or you can really squint and read this one. We also got a very nice letter from the Schmidt Family Organization, because when you're a family that big, you need an organization. Again, thanking the city for all of the cooperation in the tribute to the Schmidt brothers. That is the Schmidt brothers stage in Central Park. And if any of you haven't seen Jeff Alexander's WBAY segment, is out of his Small Town series. It's on the City Hall Facebook page and is a great tribute to that family and so much of what this community is about. It's good stuff. Congratulations to police, fire, and all of the area emergency response agencies. And yes, that includes city public works and utilities, as well as our uniformed personnel, plus other area agencies like the Coast Guard, County Sheriff's Department, for an outstanding National Night Out event last Thursday at Walsh Field. Eagle 3 wasn't able to join the activities because they were doing what they're there for and participating in a patient transport, but very, very well attended, well organized, and part of the great relationship building that is ongoing by all of our city departments involved in emergency response. And yes, the canines still stole the show because Daisy and Zante, we know, are the hit for any of these gatherings. Bill LeClaire mentioned the Senior Center's first ever back to school carnival. I'm going to share some of the narrative that came from Heather Eilenfeld and her staff and the Committee on Aging, because this is pretty cool. In early spring, the Committee on Aging discussed the issue of available affordable housing that is currently plaguing not only our seniors, but our community as a whole. Kyle Koronek from the Two Rivers School District is able to give the Committee on Aging some student statistics. Reported that 56 children are homeless from within the school district of Two Rivers. It's expected the actual number of students who would be considered homeless is about 3 times that amount. Now that doesn't always mean, I'll add that they're living in a car perhaps. They might be at a shelter, they might be couch surfing at a friend's house, family might be temporarily housed with relatives, but we've heard and know that that's a real issue in the community. She goes on to say that after the meeting, the conversation continued and many asked, what can we do at the Senior Center to help? That's where the idea of a school supply carnival was born. And members, volunteers, and staff of the Senior Center, along with city staff, businesses, and other citizen volunteers all pitched in to donate supplies to the carnival. But that was just phase 1 to their plan. As Heather reports, we wanted to help the students who had reported to our district that they were homeless. So in partnership with the administrative school staff, we set up an apple tree for folks to pick a student to buy first day of school clothing, including shirts, pants, shoes, socks, and undergarments. In order to preserve confidentiality of the students, all the clothing was given to the school social workers to hand out to the children. And Senior Center's happy to report there was a huge response to this event. Every child that pre-registered received a brand new school bag, all of their needed school supplies, and a lunch pack filled with nutritious snacks. In total, we had 120 students come to the community house to play games, win prizes, eat some popcorn, and leave with school supplies needed for the upcoming school year. So just, how about a round of applause for our Senior Center staff? And honestly, our Two Rivers School District as well. This is just a great example of intergenerational cooperation, looking out for one another as a community, and couldn't be more proud of what was accomplished by the Senior Center with this event. So thank you. This past weekend was crazy busy around town. There was the War on the Shore softball tournament. Adam, 78 teams. 77. I was just one off. Visited Two Rivers, and man, their economic impact was apparent all over town because you saw parents with softball players in tow, and little brothers, little sisters as well. And I gather a great time was had by all of the participants. So good stuff. Road trip was at Bands on the Beach on Saturday night. Very well attended. The Rotary Club was thrilled to death with their beverage sales as fundraiser there. The Czech music in the park was very well received on Sunday afternoon. I'll talk about that a little more in a minute. And we also had the Catamaran Racing Association of Wisconsin, Trivers Catamaran Regatta. Some of you that have been on council a few years will remember they used to get special permission to camp out at the beach, stay overnight in one or two of the beach parking lots. The event has evolved to the point where they make their accommodations, do their camping at Seagull Marina, but still grace the areas off Neshota with just some amazing views with the regatta. If I recall right, this is another group that came here as just one in a series of locations, saying, well, this year we're going to try Two Rivers. That was about 5 years ago, and they've come back every single year. So kudos to the Catamaran Racing Association of Wisconsin for some great offshore eye candy off Two Rivers this weekend. There was a lot going on late last week and this weekend downtown. We've been eagerly awaiting the shipment of the Friendship Table crafted by Czech artist Václav Fiala in his studio, which is about 30 kilometers from our sister city of Domažlice. It made it to New York fine. It made it across the country to Chicago fine. And then it sat for about a week awaiting customs clearance. So welcome to America. And as near as I can tell, somebody entered into a computer somewhere that there was a paper bill of lading that should be accompanying the shipment. There never was, but the system said there was. So that finally got cleared up Friday, and Friday afternoon about 2 o'clock. Matt Heckenleibel, our city engineer, who's been coordinating with the Sister City Committee, took delivery out here. Matt, along with our street foreman, Travis Christensen, volunteered their morning into the early afternoon and also worked with our two on-call operators, equipment operator Daryl Hassmer and DPW maintenance worker Ed Gilmer. So the sculpture, the Friendship Table, was actually installed under artist Fiala's direction. And that's Václav Fiala there in the leftmost picture. A chance to see it. I swear it'll still be light when you leave this out and check it out. But a beautiful addition to Central Park, generous donation of supporters of the Sister Cities Initiative and our friends in Domažlice in the Czech Republic. The city actually made a major contribution to this gift. And there is Daryl Hassmer and Neil Zarn from Public Works, along with the artist and Matt Heckenleibel this afternoon. And of course, I like to get in on a photo op as well with the artist. And there is a tree planted at the center, and then the Czech and American flags meeting. And the granite was mined in artist Fiala's hometown in the Czech Republic, which is very cool. Czech Music in the Park happened on Sunday. Don Konop's Bavarian Band and the Czech Choraliers. A lot of great traditional Czech music, the Czech national anthem. And here again, we have, this was artist Fiala in his studio back in the Czech Republic with the American GI helmet and the Czech peasant's helmet that are the two symbolic pieces that lie on top of the table. And I can tell you, because I got a text from him a few minutes ago, our Public Works foreman is already crafting the shipping crate timber on his own time, because Travis is a pretty crafty, skilled guy, into some Christmas trees that can both be displayed here and in the Czech Republic. So pretty cool. Sustainable, too. Switching over to tourism and our Community Tourism Director for Explore Two Rivers, Brian Dean, to see if you have any questions for Brian. But if you want to give a quick update on last week's meeting and
Sure.
and some very cool graphics about room tax. Sorry, this is totally impromptu, so I caught Brian by surprise.
I'm glad to be here, and thank you very much, Greg and Council. Yes, we did get our room tax revenues in through June. Finalized that. Appreciate the work, the hard work by Dave Buss and others to get that to us. What we're seeing here is the continued and sustained growth of our room tax revenues. I think that in June, we were up about $4,000 or $5,000 over last year. In July, we have every expectation those figures are going to be similar. It's a type of growth I think we all like to see. It's sustainable. It's not wildly fluctuating, and it's something that we can, I think, manage and continue to derive the benefits from those revenues. We had an excellent second board meeting of Explore Two Rivers, at which point we nominated and elected our vice chairman, who was John Y. Rostick, who is the chairman of the Friends of Point Beach. John lends a real special angle in his leadership on the board, considering his dual roles both at Point Beach and as on the advisory board for the Shipwreck Coast and the Maritime Sanctuary. And we feel that this is the perfect individual that's going to help us really work on building on that, the synergies between our maritime heritage, our fishing community, our Rogers Street, and the relationship we have with the Manitowoc Museum and the Shipwreck Coast and so forth. So we are in the process of breaking down committees, working our way through the summer. We have developed a group today. I sat down with the executive committee, and we're going to be formulating a special committee to discuss what they call shoulder period times when when tourists are not flocking here, and how we can generate tourism and visitor revenues during those periods. So there's a lot going on. There's a lot of marketing going on both online and on our digital billboard and on our radio program on OMT and 98.1 with the lake. So we're busy at Explore Two Rivers, and I think that our local visitor base is reflecting that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Brian. You know, you look at these numbers and pre-pandemic, January to June, to where we are today, we're seeing triple the revenue. And as Brian mentioned, we're running about $5,000 ahead of this time last year.
A breakdown on this and what is actually coming from Airbnbs?
Well, I think Greg can probably best articulate that, but the interesting thing about the Airbnb and all of the rental properties, whether it's Vrbo and Airbnb, those companies very successfully lobbied state governments to be able to essentially keep that information and the analytics away from us. And
We can give you a big number. We just can't. We don't know the
what we
details.
do is we get a big lump sum payment from these providers, whether it's Vrbo or Airbnb, as opposed to getting any sort of broken down analytics on where they are. So we just have to keep track of them and make sure that they're paying their room tax. And under the auspices of Vrbo and Airbnb, that should be less complicated. I think maybe when you get into the area of individual proprietors, that's the area where we need to be.
We're going to add a box to this graphic starting next month. But I can tell you, out of that 123,000 and change that's shown year to date, a little over 40% of it is from the individual vacation rentals. The balance of it would be from what we more typically, the hotel
Right,
motels.
that number should be a lot more transparent because you should be able to track that number, and it actually feeds right back into our housing problems here. As that number increases, our housing problems also increase.
And that's certainly something when we talk about sustainable growth in tourism, that's certainly something that we need to keep a very close eye on. And it's a shame that the structure that the state statutes, and it's not just Wisconsin, this is just throughout the United States, have enabled these companies to get away with doing this lump sum payment rather than providing us with a solid type of data and analytics that we could certainly use. We've had some preliminary conversations with our partners in Manitowoc to potentially hire a firm. It's very expensive to do those types of analytics. So, we are welcome to ideas, and we certainly are very conscious of the fact that we need to make sure that, we keep a close eye on what vacation rentals are doing to the local property market and affordable housing.
Might be something that Shane Andre might want to look into too.
Sure. Yeah. We do, again, we know either from county licensing or now their licensure through the city, how many units we have that are flying above the radar at least, and where they are. But what Brian references is interesting, and it's kind of the sausage making that we talk about that happens in Madison. The bill that required these online platforms to collect and pay room tax to individual cities, villages, that levy a room tax started out, we understand it was a Door County legislator, and man, they know tourism up there as well as anybody. And it required, and of course they would just have to hit a button, that those reports list the individual properties and how much is coming from each of them. Doesn't happen. That's what is a little scary, because we get, 5 or 6 checks quarterly from these large online platforms, whether it's Airbnb or the others. But no subsidiary detail. So, yeah.
Sometimes when we look at these graphics, you see these surges going up. That's when we get those lump sum payments. There's no rhyme, no reason really to when they give it to us. It's not necessarily on a quarterly basis.
We're also running into more people that have decided to invest in owning homes here that were first introduced to Two Rivers as visitors. So it's a tight line to walk there, but I hear what you say. Okay. Thank you, Brian. Whoa, what did I just do? Okay, there we go. As Brian mentioned, John Wyrostek, the Vice President of Explore Two Rivers, is on the Citizen Sanctuary Advisory Council for the Shipwreck Coast Marine Sanctuary. About 3 weeks ago, they held their bi-monthly meeting here in Two Rivers. Does propose that NOAA invest money in all 4 of the cities, Two Rivers, Manitowoc, Sheboygan, Port Washington, that fall within the sanctuary. I think generally we like that. Spread it around, spread the visitor experience around. And they have cited in that facilities plan and really like the plan that our city staff and Room Tax Commission had reviewed previously with updating the water pumping station at 12th and Memorial as a visitor center and a gateway to what Two Rivers has to tell people in terms of its maritime history with the Marine Sanctuary. So that's progressing well. Okay. I had shared this on Facebook. Every year, the Wisconsin Department of Revenue does a sales study for various classes of property to determine the estimated equalized value for each village, city, county, town in the state. It's always an interesting number to see because it's an indication of what the macro market is for real estate. We all know that residential real estate all over the country, all over the state, has been increasing in value. The state sales study for 2022 showed that overall the city's equalized valuation went up by 16%. That's without precedent, I can tell you. And that was propelled by an estimated 19% increase in the value of existing residential properties. That's based on real sales numbers. That rate outpaced the rest of the county. For existing residential properties, the rate of appreciation cited by the state was 14% for the county, 15% for the city of Manitowoc. Now, full disclosure, new construction within Two Rivers was pretty modest at $2.36 million. We all know that that is a priority, so we can have a broader tax base and lower the burden for those that pay. The value of existing commercial properties in the city did drop by 4%. But overall, this is a very positive picture as far as property values in our community. Speaking of housing, Sandy Bay Highlands Conservation Subdivision. In July, we accepted 2 more sale contracts. Those sales are to close this month. I believe one for folks wanting to do an owner-occupied house, the other for another spec house. There are presently only 4 lots remaining available in phases 1 and 2. City engineering is working with McMahon Associates, who in turn is in communication with DNR about a proposed phase 3. That graphic there on the right would show a northerly extension of Orchard Lane, which splits off Lake Breeze Way off County O, and then a cul-de-sac extending to the west. Identified there as 32nd Street. We might come up with something a little more picturesque there in the future, but that would provide for 13 home sites. Obviously, that'll have to come back to council, but I'm sure hoping we can be bidding this out over the winter and getting utilities and the next phase of lots in there. In terms of the overall remaining 17 acres, this graphic still shows proposed phase 3 plus what's left, and I've identified that as 37 plus home sites, at least 37, but there is some question about just how we might plan for and array houses in that northwest corner. Honestly, given some of the wetlands up there at the top of the hill and the fact that you don't really have much of anywhere to go, I'm not sure there'll ever be that connecting street that shows headed out to the northwest. But that whole corner may very well present an opportunity to do something like a planned unit development where 1 or 2 family homes could be located around those natural features with, harken back to last week's work session, maybe a private driveway. We'll talk about that another time, but it looks like the remaining 17 acres could accommodate 37 regular subdivision lots and perhaps some additional activity. Sorry, that is a suspected spam call. Probably my car warranty. So that's Sandy Bay. We do want to remind people we've had some recent enforcement activity and there will be more late summer into the fall. We have recently received some complaints about tall vegetation in terrace areas. And if you've seen the latest utility inset, it's in the current billing cycle, so you may or may not have gotten it yet. We are reminding people that terrace areas, which we define in our ordinances as between the back of curb, on a curb street, of course, and the sidewalk. First of all, it is part of the street right of way. It is the maintenance responsibility of the homeowner. Be maintained as turf grass unless a special waiver is obtained from the city. So we do have some folks that are trying to do their part with providing natural habitat and milkweed and other things, but natural habitat growing that high between the sidewalk and curb is in violation of our ordinance and poses some very real safety and traffic safety, pedestrian safety concerns. So we anticipate giving folks who are contacted until sometime this fall so they can relocate those plants instead of saying mow your milkweed down in the middle of the summer. But this is something that, frankly, the city is overdue to be enforcing. So wanted to make you aware of that. And I think Public Works Committee's been made aware of that as well. Yep. Yes?
The trees that are growing in the terrace, they have to be picked by the city.
To plant a tree in the terrace area, the ordinance requires a city-issued permit. The main concerns are spacing, distance from intersections, type of tree we get concerned about, and Mike can speak to it some, if it's below power lines in particular. There's some recommended varieties, but I'll let our tree guy speak to it further.
Well, Greg said it, we have a tree planting guide that outlines small, medium, and large size terraces, and there's certain trees that should fit into those. It's not all encompassing. The homeowner can suggest to us certain types of trees if it's not on our list, and then we'll just kind of check into that and make sure it fits. So yeah, it has to do with spacing, the width, and utilities and all that kind of good stuff. So.
City permit required to remove a tree. Of course, if it's dead and it's in the terrace, it's the city's responsibility to remove it, or to plant a tree. And I know there's been some recent enforcement activity. Some of you were contacted by a homeowner that had some concerns. Again, in that instance, it wasn't a matter of saying get them out of there immediately, but Mike, in his role in enforcement of the ordinance, gave the opportunity to wait until fall to ultimately get those relocated. So, and I think if there are appeals, it's the advisory rec board that serves in that capacity. So, yep. Speaking of housing development and needs, council has identified in its goals for the last 2 or 3 years for the city the need for market rate apartment housing, as well as condominiums, as well as single family homes in the city, but particularly market rate multifamily downtown on the downtown waterfront. You're all very familiar with the TIF district that was created and the development agreement negotiated for the confluence over here on a portion of the former Eggers property. We have now received the site and architectural plans for that development, and they will be on the Plan Commission's agenda next Monday. Staff, including Elizabeth in planning, Matt in Public Works, and our utilities people, as well as police and fire, have been consulted on the plans. These are, again, some elevation shots of what would be a 6-story building, atop some grade level parking. There'd also be some surface parking. This is, we don't have an updated budget, but at least a $14 million proposed investment, 71 units. So council at the next regular meeting on the 21st will be holding the hearing on rezoning for planned unit development. And then we'll report back as well on the status of site and architectural plan review. So this is coming closer. Things seem to be gelling and very, very positive. I don't know if you run into it out on the street, but our office gets calls all the time from people saying, what do you have for new apartment housing? And that's new people coming to town. It's people that already live here that are maybe looking to downsize. Maybe they're seasonally not living in town. So good news on the confluence. Just a reminder, site prep will begin tomorrow. Engineering was out there doing some staking and shooting grades today. Site work by Public Works should begin tomorrow for the playground equipment installation that will happen over at Neshota Park for the new destination playground being installed there on what has been to date a baseball field and softball field. And that installation by Northland Rec Equipment is scheduled to begin right after Labor Day. So we'll keep you posted and hopefully be planning a dedication event well before the snow flies while the kids can still enjoy it. Speaking of thank yous, I don't know what that D is doing in that odd box there, but thank you to the Two Rivers Kiwanis for their D donation for the new roof that was installed by our crews just last week over at Walsh Field. Nice facelift and one more red roof in the parks. Up to the microphone now, because we got to keep it moving at a rapid clip. Andrew Sukawati, our water utility director. Andrew's got updates on a number of items as identified here. Thanks, Andrew.
Just a couple of things that were important on the water utility side I wanted to bring up to everybody. So first one's PFAS. We, as a city, haven't really tested much to this point. We were required in 2023 to test quarterly per the EPA, and we have done that. We have gotten some statistics back. When we talk about testing for PFAS and PFOS, our EPA regulations actually tested for about 18 different substances that are associated with those compounds. It's kind of hard to depict an overall limit for those chemicals. So the Wisconsin Department of Health Services has developed what they call a hazard index. You put all these chemicals into this index, it kind of spits you out a final number if you should be concerned or not. The final number to be concerned is at 1.0. I punched in all our substances that came back that were over non-detect, and we had 0.268. So we are far below anything that we should be concerned about. We will get this out to the public this week, so everybody is aware of that. I just wanted to address it because I know there's a lot of media to date about it. So nothing we need to be concerned about, but we did do 2 rounds of testing, and they came back well below any standards that we have for here.
Andrew, help me out on PFAS and PFOS, so not getting into all the other related compounds. Wisconsin had established a drinking water standard. EPA has a different standard. Can you share those results? What you just cited really tells the story, I think, a lot better, but there's some other numbers you hear out there.
Yep. So when this all came ahead and the testing started coming out, nobody had the EPA or the DNR hadn't defined a maximum contaminant level like we have with all our other chemicals. The DNR was being proactive and they got ahead of the EPA, and they came out with a proposed Wisconsin limit of 70 parts per trillion. A few months later, the EPA finally finalized their statistics, and they came out with their maximum contaminant level of 4 parts per trillion. That's where we're at. So
and our tests have been just in the neighborhood of 2.3.
Yep. So the big ones that we had that were more than just a couple decimals or non-detects are the actual PFOS and PFAS. I took all that together and averaged it from the last 2 rounds of testing that we did, and we came back right at 2.3. So we're far below the 4.0 from the EPA. I think the health index is probably a little bit better to go off of because we did have a few minor hits on a few other things, but that still puts us well below.
So from what we've seen with other Lake Michigan utilities, so their analytical results are in that same range. It's a big body of water.
Yeah, it's pretty diluted.
We all draw from it.
It is there. Nothing we should be concerned about, but the other utilities that have tested along Lake Michigan, I have been keeping in correspondence with them, and they're all kind of right around where we are as well. So nothing to be concerned about, but I will get something together with Greg on reaching out to the public that we have been getting some inquiries to see if we have been testing. And we did, and these are our results. So I wanted to bring it here first so everybody kind of knew going forward. Anything on that? Okay. So a couple other things I just want to update everybody on real quick is September 28th is our deadline for the DNR for the new chemical they want us to feed for copper and lead corrosion. I just wanted to give everybody a quick update that we do finally have all the pieces of the chemical injection skid in-house. Most of them are already put together. I would say within the next 2 weeks, we should be to a point where we could fire it up if we need to. So we'll do a little testing at the beginning, but I know with COVID and some of the delays in material, I just wanted to update everybody that we are good. We have everything. The last key component came in this morning, so we should be good. We just got to get it together. 2 other things I just want to let everybody know about. The East Tower is going to go through some pretty extensive
rehabilitation starting next Monday. The exterior looks beautiful because it got repainted like 2 years ago. The interior needs a full repaint as well, so that is actually going to get done. There's a few maintenance items that they're also going to address while they're there. They will probably be up, the contractor will be up on the hill for approximately 4 to 6 weeks. So there will be a lot of activity up there. I just wanted the public to know that we know they're going to be there. The driveway is narrow. But one good thing that will come out of it is we will have the new logo on the tower when it's done. So I think as a marketing campaign, that'll be a nice positive as well.
We had deferred. That's why the East Side Tower's been blank, because it last got painted just before decision time on the new logo. So.
The only other thing I just wanted to mention for the general public too is we have some extensive flushing to do. We are in a unidirectional program that we've talked about a little bit in the past to help clean the water mains and keep them clean as part of our corrosion control treatment for lead and copper. We got a big push in the next few weeks to do a huge part of the north side of town. So you're going to see a lot of crews out flushing yet for the next couple of weeks. So please be patient and vigilant, and we will do the best we can as far as traffic concerns.
A lot of good things happening. Thank you, Andrew. Upcoming event, Badges Squad, Sirens and Paws, August 9, Wednesday, 1:30 p.m., Leicester Public Library. It's those four-legged friends again, Zante and Daisy from the TRPD. They'll probably have some human beings along with them that you'll be glad to see as well. So, thank you. Rogers Street Days this coming weekend over at Rogers Street Fishing Village, community celebration, free live music, great food. I bet they got a schmelter too, but they got brats, burgers, fries, and cheese curds as well. Sweet corn, Cedar Crest ice cream. Good time, good opportunity to support a major institution in the community. Story Walk celebration at Leicester Public Library and Xander Park coming up. You remember the Leicester Library Foundation working with Two Rivers Parks and Rec competed successfully for one of 2 competitive grants for the arts in Manitowoc County offered through the West Foundation. Very excited project there. By all means, if you can attend next Wednesday. And are there activities at both locations, guys? Jeff? Sure. Mike, speak to that. No schmelt, but I see brats.
No schmelt.
Yep.
Yeah, we are having a brat fry at the library from noon to 3. The festivities at both sites at the Leicester Public Library be 1:30 to 4:30, and at Xander Park 1:30 to 4:30. Come check it out. The Story Walk's a really great addition to the Patrick Gagne Memorial Trail at the library, and a wonderful addition to Xander Park as well. The brat fry, benefits Healthiest Manitowoc County, and all the meats were donated from Pick and Save. So a great community event. A lot of departments went in to make this happen, thanks to Kevin at Public Works, for example, who installed the Story Walks themselves. And then the reformation of Xander Park is really, really cool. I was out there this morning, so they're doing some great work out there. Any questions? Thanks.
Come on up for a Broughton celebration. Concerts in the park continue next Thursday, the 17th. It's Dr. Bombay, 6 p.m. in the Schmidt Brothers stage. Bands on the Beach keep on going. The next one is Sunday, August 20th, 2 to 6 p.m. The String Benders under the Rotary Pavilion. And Brian Dean with city manager and others pitching in every so often is continuing to provide the 2 Minutes with Two Rivers weekly broadcast on WOMT and 98.1 The Lake, as well as the podcast that's shared through various social media, including Explore Two Rivers. And with that, we end with a photo taken this afternoon. Again, our friend from the Czech Republic, artist Václav Fiala, his wife Sylvie, his 2 children. His wife and kids went and got ice cream at the Washington House. They didn't bring him any, but enjoying themselves around the now completely installed, with a Kentucky coffee tree growing up out of the middle, friendship table in Central Park. That's my report. Okay, we got 8 minutes left to do. We're doing pretty good.
We'll move it right along.
Yeah.
On to number 10, consent agenda. Under A, we have presentation of minutes. There are 2. City Council meeting of July 5th and the 17th of 2023. Also, a city council work session meeting of July 31st, 2023. Recommended action is a motion to waive reading and adopt the minutes. Under B, minutes of meetings, there are one. It's a Public Works Committee meeting, August 2nd of 2023. The recommended action is a motion to receive and file. Under C, finance reports for June of 2023, there are four. The recommended action is a motion to receive and file. Under D, applications and petitions, we have two. We have a temporary Class B retailer's license from Mishicot Indian Diamond Club for Slugfest, September 15th through the 17th, 2023, at Vietnam Veterans Memorial Park. And we also have a block party permit from Suzanne Hinkle, for an event on September 2nd, 2023, from 8 a.m. to midnight, located on 34th Street between Adams and School Street. The recommended action is a motion to approve the application and authorize issuance of the license. The recommended action for the whole consent agenda is a motion to approve the consent agenda with the various actions recommended. Looking for a motion on the consent agenda. Thank you, Jeff. Second by Tim. Council discussion. See none. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. On to 11, City Council formal items. We have two. The first one is a purchase agreement with the Two Rivers Public School District pertaining to the conveyance of city-owned property to the district for expansion of L.B. Clark Middle School. The recommended action is a motion to approve the purchase agreement as presented, with the understanding that a new certified survey map will be prepared and attached to the purchase agreement as Exhibit A, consistent with the maps furnished with the agenda, and to authorize execution by the city manager and city clerk of the purchase agreement, deed, and all other documents necessary to finalize the property sale, contingent upon review and approval by our city attorney. Greg, do you want to walk us back into that and read our resolution, please?
You do have in your packets the current proposed purchase agreement. The only thing we foresee changing in that, and we're asking for the council's approval with that in mind, is that obviously there'll have to be a new certified survey map produced. And then we reference an Exhibit B map that would show the various easements and rights the city wishes to retain, whether that be the area of the existing Pony League Diamond for the ability to schedule and program outside of school hours, also an electric utility easement for underground facilities, an easement for maintenance of the sewer lift station, which is located on school property. They've always let us on their property, by the way, to service that lift station. Otherwise, kind of exciting in the neighborhood. And a reservation of rights for the city to, in the future, possibly dedicate the northernmost 30 feet of the parcel in question as a public street, if the street network ever gets extended out there. And I welcome Diane Johnson, our district administrator, here tonight. I would point out the council and the Two Rivers Board of Ed met in joint session last week during the council's work session, hammered out some final issues relative to this property transaction. And we shared that proposed agreement with council over the weekend and with the district. Ms. Johnson and I talked today, and attorney for the district had suggested it might be well to either have maybe a language in the agreement. I'd suggested this resolution instead that would memorialize for the record some of the whys behind what's in the purchase agreement, like the discussion of retaining rights for that Pony League Diamond, the commitment the district has made based on their discussions with city council to develop a new varsity baseball facility on school district property, freeing up for other parks and rec uses, Walsh Field. So if there aren't any objections, I'd like to walk through that. This is intended with the city attorney's blessing as an appropriate mechanism, at least if council wishes to act upon as far as giving approval to this purchase agreement. So, resolution approving purchase agreement and authorizing related actions for sale of property by the city to the Two Rivers Public School District. Whereas the voters of the Two Rivers Public School District in November of 2022 approved a referendum authorizing the borrowing of $38.7 million for improvements to the community's public school facilities. And whereas the most significant investments to be made from with funds from that bond issue are at L.B. Clark Middle School. Those improvements include extensive renovation of existing facilities and new construction that includes a new gymnasium and a new 5th grade classroom wing. And whereas the city of Two Rivers is the owner of approximately 9.5 acres of property lying to the north and to the west of the existing school district property at L.B. Clark Middle School, and makes use of portions of that property for the city's recreation programs. And whereas the city and the school district wish to work cooperatively to convey from the city to the school district the property necessary for its project for $1, while maintaining in city ownership a portion of the subject property not required by the school district for school district use, and allowing for continued city use of a baseball diamond located within the land to be conveyed from the city to the school district. And whereas in the course of discussing this matter, the city council and city staff have expressed a desire that the school district, a desire for the school district to relocate Two River High School's baseball program to a facility located on school district property, thereby allowing for other city parks and recreation uses of the city-owned facility at Walsh Field that is currently used for high school baseball. And whereas the above matters have been resolved between the city and the school district based on discussions at a joint meeting of the council and the Board of Ed held July 31, 2023, and are addressed in the language of a purchase agreement that is being presented for action by the City Council August 7, 2023, this evening, and by the Board of Education on August 14, 2023. Now, therefore, be it resolved that City Council does hereby approve the purchase agreement as presented, authorize signature of the purchase agreement on behalf of the city by the city manager and city clerk, with the understanding that a new certified survey map, Exhibit A to the purchase agreement, and a new Exhibit B map will be inserted with provisions as shown on the maps that accompany the purchase agreement that's presented for council action on this date. And finally, the council authorized signature of the deed, closing statement, and all other documents necessary to finalize the property sale, contingent upon review, that again by the city manager and city clerk, upon review and approval by the city attorney, approved on this date. And Adam, you and council may wish to speak to it. I would just say the commitment relative to Walsh Field is that the district by the end of the 2025 year or ball season will provide replacement facilities. The city intends, there's been, just so nobody gets excited out there, there's been no discussion of the city not continuing to own Walsh Field. It's anticipated it would continue to be a Parks and Rec facility. Maybe it's a softball diamond. You don't have to maintain a mound, which limits a lot of other uses, but would allow for a greater variety of uses of a very important piece of city parkland.
Yes, I think that was a lot of the discussion there on the 31st at the work session, including our Parks and Rec director, who said that removing the mound would open up a lot more programming for baseball and softball for the younger kids, and the addition of lights to program some of those sports even later into the evening and night during summer was a huge benefit for city programming. So that is the big stickler. We're not trying to get rid of baseball or softball at Walsh Field. It's the mound that is solely used for high school, as we no longer have the Polar Bears and haven't for probably 3 or 4 years now. The sole use for that whole park was the high school baseball team, and we're trying to better utilize a gem within our city that is right there by Neshota Park, Neshota Beach, and on your way out to the campground at Point Beach. Anyone else wish to speak further? All right, then I will entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Scott. Seconded by Tim. Council discussion. No, we beat this one pretty good last week, so there shouldn't be much discussion. All right, roll call vote. Amanda.
Scott Steckmeiser.
Aye.
Aye.
Bucky.
Aye.
Aye.
Bonnie Shimaluna.
Aye.
Great, and thank you to the school district for joining us last week and making concessions, and obviously the city made concessions, and I thought we worked pretty diligently and pretty well together. It's good to see that city government and whether it's city council and the school district can actually work together, unlike some people in the federal government. We can actually work things out and move forward with things. So it was a pleasure working with the school district on this. On to B, award of bid recommendation for sidewalk replacement. The recommended action is a motion to award the contract for 2023 to Seiler Brothers Construction Incorporated in its low qualifying bid in the amount of $50,942 and that good old 50 cents. Greg, background.
Happy to announce that the staff has successfully obtained 2 competitive bids for sidewalk replacement. We've got quite a backlog of sidewalk replacement as far as private walks around the city that have been, where property owners have been notified of defective sidewalks. We're a walker-friendly city. So and Seiler Brothers, the low bidder, obviously a well-experienced contractor. These are scattered all over town pretty much. None of them are on public property. These are all private properties. We know we do have some problem sidewalks in city areas, like on Sayre Street, where I tripped last time I went to a softball game and then saw somebody else trip. Bonnie, that sounds familiar. We talked today. So our public works staff generally is taking care of those, as well as some at Neshota Park that you may have heard about from a resident in that neighborhood. So these are all private locations scattered around the city. Generally, they will be billed to the property owners who do have the option of paying on a 5-year installment option with interest 2% above the city's cost of borrowing or 6% at current rates. There'll be more next year. This, I think, is a little more than what we have in the specific line items within the streets capital budget, but we're in good shape overall because we're well under budget on flat work, and council adopts that budget at a grand total level. So this will be paid out of streets capital initially, most of it recouped over the long term through assessment billings.
All right, thank you for that. Looking for a motion from council.
Make that motion.
Thank you, Jeff. Seconded by Tracy. Council discussion. Go ahead,
I have
Bonnie.
a question. I don't remember, the city replaces all sidewalks now?
No,
People
we
don't-
give property owners the option of replacing their own, or if they don't wish to do so, then they can opt to have it rolled onto a city
But
contract.
they still pay for it.
They still pay for it. Yeah.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, and not that we don't have enough other things to do, but based on some legislation that came out of Madison in the night a few years ago, the city can't do replacement of infrastructure or construction infrastructure where it gets built to the property owner. Not that we don't have other things to do, but so it's really imperative, and it's great that we, in a busy time, found 2 good contractors willing to bid. But yeah, hopefully, our preference is if people become aware that they've got a defective sidewalk on their own, they do it, or they find a good contractor or their brother-in-law or somebody. But these are cases where people have said no, either by default, we've not heard back from them, or by their affirmatively saying, yeah, city, you get it taken care of. It will be the owner's responsibility.
Darrell.
How many locations does this cover?
Anticipating 100.
Okay.
Public Works Structure says about 100 locations.
Okay,
Yep.
cool.
Anybody else? All right, then roll call vote. Amanda.
Adam Husky.
Aye.
Jeff Delkey.
Aye.
Chrissy Coach.
Aye.
Joe Lukler.
Aye.
Darrell Lukler.
Aye.
Anna Shimulunis.
Aye.
Aye.
All right, Greg, do you got for information only?
Yeah, just a reminder.
Especially for council members that serve on Board of Review or citizens that want to come in and appeal their assessments, Board of Review meets at 4 p.m. on August 16, next week, Wednesday. City Council's next regular meeting is on the 21st, of course, work session on the 28th. I guess I jumped ahead there. And Mike Peters, the president and CEO of our energy supplier, WPPI Energy. I don't know how the U got in there. It's not WPPIU, but WPPI Energy will be here on August 21 for a WPPI Energy update. Of course, WPPI is the customer for the Point Beach Energy Center, long-term purchase power contract. The reason that solar farm was built, one of the 2 out at Point Beach, and also is a significant customer of power from our friends at the Point Beach nuclear plant. The other thing that I just learned this afternoon from our Parks and Rec director is the catenary lighting over the skating loop over at Central Park West will be installed tomorrow. There was a delay in those lights coming in, but that festive lighting will be hanging over the portion of the skating loop out toward Washington Street. And again, belated thank you there. That's a $30,000 donation from Next Era Energy and the Point Beach nuclear plant.
All right, no closed session. Amanda wants to say something, so we're gonna let her have that microphone. It's all yours.
There has been a last minute update to Open Book. It is now scheduled for August 30th.
Ah.
Due to the complete reval of the city, the appraisal company needed a bit more time.
Okay, so August
Thank you.
30th on that.
Okay.
Thank you for the update.
Gee, I'll be able to make it.
Well, there is going to be reevaluation and performance assessment.
No. That was to complete their review based on permit activity, right?
I've not, she said
Yeah.
something about a reval. There's letters going out to all citizens, I think, explaining what's happening.
Not doing a complete reval this year. So
I didn't recall that either.
Dave is not here, but I believe it would represent their completion of their annual review.
I think it's just a maintenance here.
It is. If we last did a reval in 1999, and that's coming, but I didn't have that this year.
They did need to extend it though to
Yeah.
August 30th, and that's Open Book if there's someone that wants to talk
Yep.
to the assessor about
Yeah.
their.
It's taken them longer to get the job done that we hired them for, it sounds like.
Same time.
Thanks.
Right, same time, same place, just a different date. All right, looking for a motion to adjourn.
I will make that motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Jeff. Second by Tim. Sorry, saw Tim's hand first. Any discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye. Thank you and good night.